Welcome to Inside the Mind, the video where we explore the psychology of some of history's most fascinating figures. I'm your friend, and today we're unlocking the mind of Marilyn Monroe, Hollywood's brightest star and its most tragic enigma. She wasn't just a pretty face. Marilyn was an ambitious, intelligent, and deeply complex woman navigating a world that often refused to see her beyond the surface. Today, we'll unravel her psyche, her hunger for love, the battle between Norma Jean and Marilyn Monroe, and the fragile humanity behind the icon. The birth of Marilyn. To understand Marilyn's mindset, we have to start where it all began. Born Norma Jean Mortensen in 1926, her childhood was marked by instability, bouncing between foster homes, orphanages, and an absent mother battling mental illness. Psychologists suggest that childhood instability can create a deep-rooted need for validation and love. Marilyn spent her life seeking both. Every role she played, on screen and off, was shaped by this longing. Her escape, movies, films were more than entertainment. They were windows into a world where she could be anyone, anything. And so, Norma Jean transformed herself into Marilyn Monroe, Hollywood's ultimate creation. But was Marilyn truly a reinvention? Or was Norma Jean still beneath the surface, longing to be seen? The curse of fame. Fame, it's what so many dream of. But for Marilyn, it was a paradox. It was her greatest achievement and her deepest wound. She once said, "People had a habit of looking at me as if I were some kind of mirror instead of a person. They didn't see me. They saw their own wildest dreams." Imagine the pressure of not being seen for who you are, but for what people want you to be. Marilyn worked tirelessly to be taken seriously, taking acting classes with Lee Strasberg, reading voraciously, and fighting against Hollywood's typecasting. Yet the industry and the world insisted she remain the sex symbol. This conflict created a constant emotional battle, one where Marilyn struggled to reconcile her true self with the character the world adored. Love and the need to be enough. Marilyn's romantic relationships offer a window into her vulnerabilities. She was married 3 times, to James Dougherty, baseball legend Joe DiMaggio, and playwright Arthur Miller. Each man represented a different piece of the puzzle. With DiMaggio, she sought stability and protection, but he couldn't understand her need for independence. Miller, on the other hand, fed her intellectual hunger, but she feared she wasn't smart enough for him. No matter how much love she received, Marilyn's greatest battle was believing she was worthy of it. She lived with a constant fear of abandonment, a fear deeply rooted in her childhood, and that fear led to what psychologists now call imposter syndrome, the persistent feeling of being a fraud despite success. Marilyn was adored by millions, yet inside, she often felt like she was never enough. The inner demons and the struggle to cope. Marilyn's mental health struggles were no secret. She suffered from anxiety, depression, and possibly borderline personality disorder. She relied on prescription drugs to cope with overwhelming emotions, drugs that ultimately led to her untimely death at just 36 years old. Fame magnified her struggles. The pressure to be perfect, the loneliness that came with being idolized, and the wounds from her past all contributed to her downward spiral. Psychologists say unresolved childhood trauma can manifest in adulthood as self-destructive behavior. For Marilyn, this took the form of substance abuse, unstable relationships, and a deep sense of isolation. Lessons from Marilyn's legacy. Marilyn Monroe's life was short, but her impact is eternal. Her legacy is a lesson in how society treats women, fame, and mental health. Her story forces us to ask, how do we treat those we idolize? Do we see them as humans, or do we project our fantasies onto them? Marilyn's life reminds us that external validation can never replace inner peace, and that no amount of fame can heal the wounds of the past. She longed for something real in a world that only wanted illusion. And that longing is what makes her one of the most human, relatable figures in Hollywood history. That wraps up today's episode of Inside the Mind. If this deep dive into Marilyn Monroe's psyche resonated with you, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. What was the most fascinating aspect of Marilyn's mindset? Let's keep the conversation going on social media. Until next time, remember, fame fades, but self-worth is what truly matters. Thanks for watching.